Hello everyone, Josh first back again, bringing you guys some more 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross. Now I'm going to be making you a complete a complete gear guide video. Almost said guild. That ain't here yet, not till chapter 6. But I already made this video once, but it was like 37 minutes long, and I'm like, you know what, I could probably cut about 10-15 minutes off that, maybe a bit more. So we're going to try and speed this up, so try to stay here for the remainder of the video. Hope you enjoy. Don't forget, we like to go into a lot of detail around here, so hopefully if I miss anything, you let me know. And if you need any help or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to notifications and all that good stuff, and like today's video. And let's go ahead and get started on the gear guide. So first, you're going to go down here to your heroes. We're going to select one of our heroes that we would like to equip our gear to. So let's go over here to our equipment. Now, the first thing you're going to notice that there are 6 pieces of gear. The whole top row is attack, the middle row is defense, and the third and bottom row for both sides is HP. The left side gear, these 3 over here, all my SR ones, and then over here on the right side, they give you 2 different stats. And I mean, they're not 2 different stats in terms of like one gives you this stat, one gives you that, but there's more on the left side, I should say. You're getting a lot more stats than the right side. So if we go over to another character where I can show you a good example right here. So we have an SR attack gear. It's giving us 3,500 HP, while on the right side, the defense SR gear is giving us 1,940. So you can see the difference between the left side gear and the right side gear is super huge. There's a big gap. So you're getting a lot of your stats from the left side. This is why a lot of players, including myself, will tell you build up SSR gear on the left side. Only invest into SSR gear. Please ingrain that into your minds. Left side, SSR gear. Right side, who cares? Left side, SSR. Right side, who cares? Just remember that and keep that with you for all of eternity when you're playing this game, because you're wanting to get a lot of those stats that you're going to get from left side gear. So SSR is the way to go, because there's a pretty big gap between SR and SSR base gear as well, which is something also note. So yeah, definitely keep that in mind. So let's go back here to our Elizabeth. So now that you know what all the gear is, what its placements are, you also need to know that these are gauntlets, these are necklaces, these are belts, these are rings, these are earrings, and these are runes. The runes are the harder gear to get, because I believe you can only get those through story farming via the boss stages, and the boss stages, of course, are a lot harder than the other just normal peons or piss ant stages, as I like to call them. So definitely a lot harder to get those. So if you do pick those up as a rare or even maybe an uncommon, it's not bad to use those and build those up for the right side. Because like I said, the right side gear is not as important as the left side. The left side, you want all SSR gear. And I'll show you later in the video how to get all SSR gear. So don't worry. Don't think, oh my god, how am I going to get SSR gear? Don't worry. I got you covered here. Your boys got you covered. But on the right side, you can run rare gear, SR gear, SSR gear if you have it. It's not really a big deal. You also need to understand how sets work. An attack set, for example, you're going to need to run 4 pieces of gear that are attack, and they can be put anywhere on your 6 slots. As long as you have 4 of them, you're going to be getting 20% attack. You can see it right here. It'll tell you how much pieces of gear you need for that set and what the bonus is you're going to receive. For defense, for example, 2 set and it's 20% defense. Also to note, if you're trying to raise your CP very high, your base stats are going to give you more than your other additional stats. So attack, defense, and HP, the more you increase those, the higher your character's CP will be. And if you want to try and unlock your character's passive, you need their CP to hit 16k. And to do that pretty easily is you want to hurry up and UR them, get them to max level, and then slap on some really good SSR gear, and then boom, you're going to be sitting at 16k plus easily. And then you can go ahead and unlock their passive. So now your character will have their passive, which will also increase your CP. So just a little tip there, in case you're wondering, because yes, characters do have all these other stats like pierce rate, resistance, regeneration rate, crit chance, damage, resistance, defense, all that good stuff, but those do not increase your CP quite as high as the base attack, defense, and HP. So you definitely want to try and utilize sets for that if you're looking to do so. So a set for attack giving you 20% and defense giving you 20% is a nice little CP boost. Other good sets that you could run right now are HP and defense. HP is another 4-piece set. You can get that, I believe, from Chapter 3. We'll go into that later in the video. So that's very good. And then you're also going to notice there's two things that are going on your actual gear. You have enhancement levels, which you can see on my gear. I have enhanced level +5 for all my left side gear, and then my top right piece of gear. And then you also have stars, which would be kind of like character stars. They're awakening. And when you awaken a gear, you gain substats, and you can have up to 5 substats max. Every substat has a min and a max, and so does gear stats. A good example of that is, let me show you, for example. Okay, let me go to another character. All right, so look at my King's ring here. His attack at +5, you know, enhanced 5 SSR is 291 attack. Now, if I look at the same exact gear with the same amount of enhancement on my my girl Elizabeth, you'll see that attack is 309. So this is a min and a max. Every single piece of gear has a min and a max, and the min and the max get higher depending on the grade of the gear. So of course, uncommons are going to have a very low min and max compared to a rare, and then a rare is going to have a lower one compared to an SR, and then SSR, and then eventually one day in the future, UR gear. And yes, that is a real thing, guys, but don't worry about that right now. That's for a little while in the future, but not anytime soon, thank goodness. You'll also notice if you have 2 of the same piece of gear or more in your inventory that you can equip, they will always put the strongest gear first. So if you look over here, this piece of gear has 171 attack, this one has 178. So a nice little tip there for you guys as well. They always put the strongest piece of gear on the left side, always first, always before the others. And it does not matter if you mix and match grades as well. You could run left side attack gear all SSR, and then have your top right one, or your earrings, or even your rune be an attack to finish off the set on the right side, and it can actually be an SR, UR, or whatever. You're still going to get the complete gear set for attack, which is really, really cool, because the rarity isn't actually dictating the type of gear it is. The gear is always going to be onslaught gear. So if you look here, for example, onslaught ring is SSR, but it's also still an onslaught ring even at SR. So the gear name is still the same, so it's still considered the same gear and the same gear set. The only thing that's different, it would be, of course, the rarity, the grading of it. That's it. So you can mix and match SSRs and SRs and URs and uncommons, and they'll still get your sets off. So if you were confused about that, hopefully that clears that up. Now, let's talk a little bit about awakening and getting substats and what to look for in on that as well. Let me go to a piece of gear that I can actually do right now. Yes, right here. So I'll go ahead and work on my Iron Wall rune for my boy Fairy King. King! So weird, his name is King the Fairy King. It's like, how many kings can you be, man? Alright, enhance, let's go. So in this panel, let's explain this a little bit here. You have an enhanced failure gauge. You're not going to use that for the first 5 enhancements, but after you awaken the first time, your percentage for success for upgrading will be 80%. And then after your second awakening, it'll go lower, and then your third will go lower again, and lower. So it'll start costing you more and more gold, and then you're going to start relying more on this enhanced failure gauge, which will fill up every time you fail, and you can actually use that gauge to help increase your success rate. So let's say if you have an 80% success rate and you have 20% on your enhanced failure gauge, you can now make that 80% 100%. So then it'll then use the bar, you'll be a guaranteed success, and then you'll be able to fill the bar back up again, rinse and repeat. So very, very cool. So we're gonna go down here to consecutive enhance. I like to do 5 at a time. It'll tell you how much gold it's gonna cost when you start getting it on. Now I'm not talking about that kind of getting it on. So it's gonna cost about 2,000 gold a piece, not too bad. And we're going to go ahead and take this all the way up to enhance +5. That way we can then awaken it and show you guys a little bit how the awakening system works. And again, while we're doing this, left side gear, remember guys, all SSRs only. You can throw SRs on there until you get SSRs, but don't enhance them. Don't waste your resources. Because when you get to mid to end game, your whole left side better be SSR, otherwise it's not worth it. You just wasted so much time and resources. Don't make that mistake, guys. Don't make it. Alright, so now we got Awaken here. We're going to go ahead and Awaken now that and what Awaken does is it takes your enhancement back to level 0, but you now are able to enhance it further, and you pick up an additional substat. But your stats that you got from the previous enhancement will stay there, and then you'll just kind of add on to that. So it kind of snowballs, if that makes sense. You're going to be using your Awakening materials, There's awakening materials for all the different grades. There's ones for SSR, SR, rare, and uncommon. So keep that in mind. All your awakening materials will be different, and they'll cost more and more and more depending on how many times you awaken gear. So keep that all in mind. It's going to cost some gold here, and the gold cost will get higher as well. So like I said, you guys want to definitely save up your gold because you're going to be using a lot of it. So that's going to lead us into a point later in the video. Now, you saw there, we got a very low roll on our HP. Now, of course, you can use gems to try to reroll. Don't use gems ever on your gear, period. Ever. Never, ever, whatever. Okay? Don't do it. Don't do it. We will be getting hammers in the future, which will be very, very helpful on top of the fact that we have anvils, which you can see down here. I have 2 anvils. You need 4 to try and make that a higher reroll, but you don't want to do that. Now, every piece of gear, depending on what the type is, if you know, because there's 6 different pieces of gear, and there's a few different types. Like this, the type of this gear, of course, would be defense. The piece of this gear would be a rune. So it's a rune, and it's a defensive type, okay? And it's SR grade, it's 1-star awakened, and then your enhancement will be in the top left. So that kind of hopefully explains all the things going on your piece of gear. And then if it says a big E with a blue background, like a little ribbon, that means it's equipped. But anyways, anvils are not easy to come by right now, so you definitely want to just stockpile those up. Don't worry too much about your substats early game, guys, or even really mid-game. You're not going to be really worrying about your substats and trying to make them perfect until way, way, way later endgame. And it won't even at that point, it still won't be super, super important until you want to start entering geared PvP. Then things are going to start to pick up. But you don't even have to enter geared PvP, especially if you're free to play. So, really trying to be anal. Yes, we said anal. Trying to be anal about your substats. You really don't have to do too much of that until you actually, of course, you know, either decide to whale out or you're really just trying to be a competitive player in geared PvP. Otherwise, most of your rolls will be okay for now. You can always try to fix a few of them really super low rolls later on. But you'll see the bar goes from left to right. That's your min and your max. We got a low roll. If it was a high roll, the bar would be almost full. And of course, those min and maxes are also different depending on the grade of the gear too. So keep that all in mind. But that's how you do it. We don't have hammers yet on global, so hopefully we'll get those at some point in the future. And don't use gems. Now on rare gear, if you're using rare gear for the right side, you can use gold instead of gems. Then you can play around with those a little bit if you'd like. That's fine. And then of course, now we can go in and enhance again if we'd like. Do that 5 times, but for the sake of the video, I think we've talked about all we need to for that. And some characters prefer, like for example, your blue king right here, you could actually run him with HP gear and defense because he's not primarily a DPS. You can use him as a DPS. He's still very good as a DPS, but he's mostly a support character, a very good support character. But you could actually, like, he's one of those units you could put him on attack and defense, or you could put him on HP and defense. Either way, still works. And just because you see me with attack gear on the left side, that don't mean you couldn't put SSR defense gear on the left side and attack gear on the right side that's rare or SR. You can do that. You can mix and match if you need to, but make sure your left side is SSR. I'm just trying to, you know, drive that point home. All right, let's see. What else do I want to show you guys? So we talked all about the gear and all that in the panel. Now, what do you do with gear that you don't need? Gear that you would just want to kind of get rid of. We're going to go over here to Deanne. Sometimes, when you first start the game, she'll actually be outside that window, but either way, she's going to be over in this general area. You go here, and then up to 12 gear at a time you can select and get rid of. As you can see, I've already done so on mine. Get rid of all SR gear and lower. That's for left side. Just scrap it all and get your resources, materials, and that's all you got to do. Your right side gear, you can save your SR gear and your rare gear, especially if it's defense and HP. Hang on to those, especially if they're runes. Definitely hang on to your runes and earrings. And that's really about it. Any other SR gear that's like left side, go ahead and sack those off. You can keep a few of your right side pieces just in case you need to fill out some gear sets. But that's my recommendation for that. So you can go ahead and break those down. Now we're going to talk about some areas where you can actually pick up SSR gear. Now there's one way, obviously, at the shop when you start the game. Every day you get a free equipment draw, which is really cool. You get a free one, and the rates for that to get SSR gear and equipment, which would be the Awakening Stone, is 4%. And right now you can get Onslaught Gear, Life Gear, which is HP, Concentration Gear, which I believe is crit rate. Mind's Eye, it escapes me for the moment. I believe that is crit resistance, perhaps? I might be wrong on the Mind's Eye. I'm gonna have to go back and double check on that. And Iron Wall, of course, is defense. And then SR Gear and SR, the anvils are also included in the SR as well, which are very helpful. Again, don't use those until like way late game. Save those all up. 30% chance for that, and then of course all rare stuff will be 66%. So you have a 96% chance of not getting anything great, which means that it's going to cost you 20k per roll or 200,000 for a multi. So this is something that you might want to do late game when you're just chilling on 30 million plus gold and you don't have really any use for it. That's going to be so long from now, unless you're of course a mega whale. Then at this point this video probably doesn't even matter to you. But you get a free one of those every day, so you might get lucky. You get 30 of those per month, basically, on average. Not too bad at all. Not to mention, if you complete your Hero Way missions, one of the early ones actually gives you 20 of these keys, which is basically 2 multis for free. So definitely utilize that. So that's one way. And again, the Hero Way is actually over here on the main lobby left side. You can go through these. And one of the missions, I forget which one it was one of the earlier ones, you get 20 of those keys, and then that's, you know, like I said, that's 20 free pieces of gear or gear equipment. So that's very helpful, very cool. Another way, we go down here to our quest. You can go to your quest here, and if you go to the different chapters, right now there's 5 chapters in the game. After chapter 6 we'll get guilds and stuff like that and so forth. I think JP and Korea is on chapter 11 or 12 right now, last I checked. But anyway, so you get these missions that allow you to go ahead and pick up SSR gear on the left and right side. And how you do that is to actually completely max out, not max out your quest, because the quest percentage bar and the actual level of the village are 2 different things. So go ahead and max out the stars. Get 5 stars or level 5 for the village by completing missions, and then you'll get SR. You'll get SR missions. Complete all the SR equipment missions, and then you're going to start getting SSR. Which you can see here, we got a few ready to go that we're going to be doing. And they give you one at a time. You complete one, and then you unlock the next one. And what's nice about these, you don't even have to go back to the village to turn these in. These are just automatic. You can just turn them straight in. So it's very cool. It saves a little bit of, it saves you a few seconds here and there. And so you want to go ahead and farm those up. Now, Chapter 1 is attack. Chapter 2 is defense. Chapter 3 is all HP gear. Chapter 4, I believe, is crit chance. And then Chapter 5 is crit resistance. So you can see down here, let's just scroll down. Yep, so we got crit resistance. And yes, mine eye was crit resist, so I was right earlier. I was hoping so. So just to recap, Chapter 1, attack. Chapter 2, defense. Chapter 3 is HP. Chapter 4 is crit chance, and then crit resistance on Chapter 5. Now, let's go to the world map real quick. Now, after you've gotten to the point where you've unlocked every single area in the chapter, I like to do this when I've unlocked every area. So let's go back to Chapter 1. Let's go to Chapter 1. And you can turn these on and off. This little icon down here in the bottom left. You go and click and turn on. You can see what the drops are on these different stages, and you can turn them off if you don't want to see them. So right here is why I was saying that the runes are harder to get, because the runes, you got to do it on the boss battle stages, while the other stages drop all the other pieces of gear. And you can farm those up. I believe the boss battle stages has a 6% drop rate for SSR runes, but guess what? Since it is a right side gear, you can also go to some of the stages for right side gear and try and farm up SR gear, which has a better drop rate, including the runes here too. You can go and try and get SRs for that. So if you're looking for, like for example, if you're looking for a defensive rune, SR or better, you'd want to go to the boss battle on that stage, which would be, of course, in Chapter 2. Chapter 3, if you're looking for HP, etc., etc. I think you guys got it by now. So very cool. So yeah, this is where you farm up different, things, which could tie into a lot of other video guides that I'll make in the future. But for gear, very important. So that's another way you can farm up SSR gear for free. And again, SSR gear on the left side, you guys know. And another way is actually, this is my least recommended method until you're like super rich with gold. And I'm talking late game. Then you'd want to go to the village and go to the actual equipment shop. And you have to do this after you've already level 5'd the village, which is, of course, getting 5 hearts. So this is another method to get your SSR gear. But this, like, again, this is my least recommended. This is one of my bottom recommendations for how to get gear, because it costs 720,000 gold per piece. So, yowzer, wowzer. So that's my least recommended way to get gold. Now, you can pick up SR as well, but again, it's still very expensive. I don't think it's worth doing it. And obviously, if it's left-sided gear, you're not going to buy SR anyway. Because remember, no SR on the left side. SSR only or nothing. You can throw SR gear up there as a placeholder, but don't enhance it. Only enhance it when it's SSR. On the right side, you can do whatever. That's fine. But anyway, guys, that is my guide. Hopefully, I answered all your questions, or at least most of them. If you need any additional help, let me know in the comment section below, or join us in the Discord description below. Like the video if you did. Let's get 100. Show us some love here on the channel, and I thank you all so much. We're getting very close to 20K in 2020. So thank you all so much for the support. Don't forget to subscribe, tick notifications, and I'll catch you guys all in the next one. As always, peace.